Given that we all now have the WWE Network, sometimes you may be tempted to turn it on and just pick a random pay-per-view to watch and enjoy. Maybe you can't remember what happened at Clash of Champions in 2017, so why not try and catch up and just sit back with some good wrestling for a few hours? Well, because some main events are so bad that not only are they not worth your time, but you'd probably be better off slamming your head into a brick wall than trying to get through it. All wrestling does not equal good wrestling, and in fact, a lot of it is awful. So the only way to make sure this doesn't happen is to finally dive into the past and call out the bottom of the barrel shows that WWE has put on and try to make sure that no one ever watches them again. That's not only good for your health, but also one less thing to regret when you're on your deathbed. Ain't no one want to be remembering a Punjabi prison match when they're about to slip away to the other side. I'm Simon from WhatCulture, and this is the 10 worst WWE pay-per-views ever.
Hey everyone, just before we get this piece of red hot content started, I just want to take a brief moment of your time to talk about today's list sponsor, Alliance Heroes of the Spire. This game combines everything you love about RPGs as well as huge hero customization. In fact, there are over 10,000 different hero combinations. This game will push your skills to the absolute limit with PvP, giant boss battles, and huge guild wars all on your mobile. It's an absolute blast, and you can join myself and the other gamer lads online and absolutely wreck shop. And to get you started, go down below and click the link, download the game. We'll give you 50,000 gold and 50 gems to get you started. Isn't that nice? You're welcome. Anyway, enough from me and on to whatever mug is hosting. See ya!
Number 10, Clash of Champions 2017. See, there's a reason I mentioned this in the intro. I was preparing you for things to come and now we're here. But yes, Clash of Champions in 2017 was just one of those shows where you sit through it pretty much disinterested in the whole thing. That's even worse than hating it, because at least you can hate something with passion. Apathy is just horrendous. This was the night where AJ Styles regained his WWE Championship from Jinder Mahal to the delight of many. But the issue here was that even as a main event, this was average at best. It's not like it lit up the world and sent us all to the moon with joy. There was also the likes of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on Shinsuke Nakamura and Randy Orton, but this suffered greatly because of the confangled story WWE was trying to tell with Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan. It was like some weird war where they just kept interfering seemingly for their own gain, even though they were meant to be pushing for the same goal. Then there was Charlotte and Natalya in a very poorly booked lumberjack match which died live, and the tag bouts that saw the Bludgeon Brothers squash Breezango and the New Day take on every other team on SmackDown were kind of just there, floating along in the wind. We did get a very good encounter between Ziggler, Baron Corbin and Bobby Roode, but the fallout from this was Dolph just giving up his US title for absolutely no reason. And we still to this day don't know why. So in hindsight, yeah. Meh. Number 9, WrestleMania 11. A lot of people say this is the worst WrestleMania ever, or at least up there, and you can kind of see why. The 1995 showcase of the Immortals was packed with way too many celebrities, as you'd imagine. Vince McMahon was worried about the star power he had on his own roster. Pamela Anderson, Jenny McCarthy, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, Nicholas Turturro. If there was a place to fit them in, well, we fit them in. It was also this night where we did indeed get Bam Bam Bigelow taking on Lawrence Taylor, a celebrity in his own right, and while that was nowhere near as bad as it could have been, it's not really held up over time. If nothing else, it just didn't have the sheen you'd expect or want from a WrestleMania main event. It also had Bret Hart vs Bob Backlund, which Hart himself has described as one of my worst matches ever. So there's that. The Undertaker and King Kong Bundy ticks every box you'd assume it would. Probably should take a number off Taker Streak, to be honest. And overall, just don't watch WrestleMania 11 really, unless you're heading to Shawn Michaels and Diesel. That's actually pretty decent, but not a lot else here is. That always stings a bit more when we're talking about what is meant to be one of the biggest shows of the year. Number 8, King of the Ring 1999. The real interesting fact to take away from 1999's King of the Ring was that Billy Gunn was booked to win it. Now that's not a slight on Gunn himself, but at the time why that was the decision was baffling. It's not like Billy had any momentum or crowd chants were picking up for him. Someone just thought it could work, so let's see if it would. Now that's not the worst decision in the world, but it didn't even come close to becoming the roaring success whoever came up with the idea clearly thought was possible. It didn't help that his route to the crown were 3 run-of-the-mill matches which kind of just plodded along. He defeated Ken, Shamrock, Kane and X-Pac, and all 3 bouts together went less than 15 minutes. By the time he was the victor, most people just shrugged their shoulders and went, okay. The main event also gave fans one of the most infamous unclaimed conclusions in company history. Stone Cold Steve Austin lost a ladder match to Shane and Vince McMahon with control of the WWE hanging in a briefcase atop of the ring. And the rattlesnake got screwed because just as he was about to win, the case was mysteriously elevated away from his grasp. It was always hinted the Big Boss Man did this, but it was never actually said outright, so who the hell knows what happened. A shout out to Road Dogg vs China though, as that actually did work, or at least did back in the late 90s. Today, well, you know. Number 7, In Your House 4. In Your House 4 was so bad that apparently even Vince McMahon lost it. As soon as the bell had rung following the main event between Diesel and British Bulldog, he hurled his headset to the ground while shouting "horrible" to anyone who would listen. McMahon then stormed backstage, and if that's how he felt about it, can you imagine what the rest of the fans thought? They were probably quite upset too, as they had to sit through Mabel vs Yokozuna, which was as slow as you already think it was, whilst Goldust vs Marty Jannetty and Triple H vs Fatu were background noise. They were taking place, sure, but the audience cared so little they may as well have just vanished into the abyss. Just to put some icing on the cake, this night also seen Dean Douglas lose his IC title to Shawn Michaels almost instantly. Why did we even bother? The highlight of the night would have to go to the 1-2-3 Kid and Razor Ramon losing to the Smoking Guns. It's not a match you would go out of your way to see, but it is half decent and everyone plays their roles very well. Plus, somehow, Billy and Bart were over. With that said, you'd be mad to watch this, utterly mad. It makes me want to cry myself to sleep at night. Number 6, Backlash 2018. Fresh in the memory as I say these words, but yes, Backlash 2018 was not a good show. At all. In fact, after the very first match between Seth Rollins and The Miz, which was good, it kept tumbling downhill until it exploded into a ball of nothingness. The big problem was nothing made any sense. Take Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. Two big dudes that everyone just wanted to see beat their shit out of each other. We didn't get that though. Instead, someone decided they should just hold each other for the first 10 minutes of the scrap, just in case fans started to cheer Roman. They did not, both men got booed, and then the chosen one hit a spear and he was the victor. Because of course. Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss was also confusing, as a tiny woman somehow got a serious advantage over someone twice her size, and Daniel Bryan vs Big Cass seemed like an afterthought. It was awesome that Bryan won, but it didn't really leave that much of an impression, aside from the fact Cass was allowed to whoop Daniel's ass afterwards to keep 50-50 booking alive. Nakamura Styles 2 was hampered by a poor finish, where two sets of testicles couldn't continue. Finally, there was Carmella vs Charlotte. The fact I forgot that was on this show sums it up. Number 5, King of the Ring 1995. The only thing you need to know about the King of the Ring 1995 is that Mabel won the thing and he beat Savio Vega to do so. That sums everything up. On his way to the finals as well, the man who would go on to become Big Daddy V also pinned The Undertaker clean, which was the dead man's first pay-per-view pinfall loss in 4 years. And you know who was the guy to pull this off before tonight? Hulk Hogan. Again, that kinda sums the whole show up. We also had Shawn Michaels not taking the thing seriously at all, which let us know what his future had in store, and Bret Hart's pretty damn good feud with Jerry Lawler was paid off thanks to a Kiss My Foot match. It was one of those situations where someone asks you what wrestling is, and you do anything to try and distract them. Other matches on the card saw the Roadie take on Bob Holly, and Bam Bam Bigelow and Diesel defeat Psycho Sid and Tatanka. I don't think you need me to tell you, these were not all-time classics. In short, the King of the Ring 1995 was not good, and in many ways, a fair representation of where the WWE was at the time. Just struggling to find its place. Number 4, Degeneration X In Your House. WCW kicked off their 1997 pay-per-view calendar with the experimental yet disastrous NWO Sold Out. However, WWE proved they were just as adept at stealing their rivals' bad ideas when they dedicated their last show of the year to Degeneration X, and amazingly, both had similar outcomes. Coming off all the madness from Montreal a month earlier, there was a worry that the bottom may be about to fall out from the company given all the hoopla that surrounded it. This wasn't helped by a card that was so by the numbers it hurt. The only saving grace being the fans going nuts for an appearance from a still injured Stone Cold Steve Austin. Otherwise, Shawn Michaels and Ken Shamrock had a hugely disappointing WWE title match, whilst Triple H and Sergeant Slaughter went at it in a boot camp fight. Who in the hell wants to see a boot camp anything? There was a decent brawl between Taka Michinoku and Brian Christopher for the Light Heavyweight Championship, but once again this was tarnished by what came afterwards. The WWE cared so little about that division, it basically vanished from existence until they remembered, oh yeah, that's a thing. Number 3, the Great American Bash 2004. All of this was just weird, to this day, and I don't think anyone knows what the hell was going on here. Seeing Eddie Guerrero lose his WWE Championship title to JBL in a Texas bull rope match just made everyone sad, and the very ending to the show beggars belief. The last shot you witness as the Great American Bash in 2004 comes to a close is Paul Bearer slowly dying in a concrete box. And yes, you heard me correctly. It got weirder too, because even though The Undertaker had just beaten the Dudley Boys, meaning Bearer didn't have to die, the Phenom then realised, oh wait, I'm really evil, and he pulled the death lever himself. Of course, somehow Paul came back to life eventually, because wrestling. If you feel like you must watch this though, it is worth it to see John Cena actually beloved by an audience. What a rarity that is in 2018. He does indeed defeat Booker T, Rene Dupree and RVD to retain this US Championship, and the audience can't get enough of the man. Don't worry though, soon you will have most definitely had your fill. Number 2, Survivor Series 1999. A series of poor choices by WWE completely undermined Survivor Series 1999 until there was no going back, namely the fact that even though the company knew Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't going to be able to compete, they kept advertising him anyway. Why, Slaphead? Because The Rock versus Triple H versus Austin in a triple threat match sounds amazing. Instead, the Big Show was drafted in and also somehow won the WWE title after choke-slamming the game. Fortunately, no one cared. All the traditional Survivor Series matchups also felt like they'd been thrown together in a few hours before the event actually started, whereas Chyna and Chris Jericho was nothing compared to where they would get to down the line. However, with all that said, you should look at it in the sense this features the debut of one Kurt Angle as a heel, no less. A stroke of genius by Vince McMahon, getting the former Olympic champion to ram the accolade down everyone's throats worked wonders, and it's here where Angle started to build a legacy that can't be touched. He wrestled Shawn Stasiak of all people, but you can't have everything. Number 1, ECW, December to Dismember. This event is now over 10 years old, but it's still genuinely not good on any level, rammed into the ground because the Extreme Elimination Chamber main event is like an explosion of the worst kind. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Ultra Push Bobby Lashley was relentlessly booed, which was not the idea, while fans got even more annoyed that the likes of Test and Hardcore Holly were taking up time that should have been used for people they liked, such as CM Punk and the always beloved Rob Van Dam. The audience were already rolled up too, because they'd just seen an undercard that didn't really hit on any level. Balls Mahoney versus Matt Striker is particularly weird, and any sense of energy had utterly dissipated by the time we got to the end of the show. The Hardy Boys and Eminem did have a very enjoyable opener to be fair, but even that worked against the card. It got people's hopes up, and then they were flushed down the toilet, probably clogging up the bowl along the way.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe below, and if you're looking for more content like this, then try a few things that are floating about around my ears. Might be fun. I can't promise it though, but it might be.